Welcome back to another episode of Horror Italiano. I am Joe the psychologist, and as usual, my partner in crime, Rick. How you doing tonight?
What's up, Joe the psychologist, and what up, Harbor Fiends? Your boy Ricky Grimes is doing great because we all cheer for big bottles of beer. Salute, Horror Italiano. Let's go, bro. Let's go.
Oh, I'm gonna kill you for this one. Tonight, we're gonna be discussing the 1981 movie The Beyond, directed by Lucio Fulci. It is written by Dardano Sacchetti and Giorgio Maruzzo, starring Catriona McCall as Liza Merrill, David Warbeck as Dr. John McCabe, Cynthia Monreal as Emily. Liza Merrill inherits the Seven Doors Hotel, which she is refurbishing, and some deaths begin to happen in the hotel. As Liza tries to figure out what is happening in the hotel, she meets a blind woman named Emily, who tells her of the past of the hotel and the dark secrets it holds. Well, the first thing I want to discuss is the character Emily. I know you've seen this more than once, so this was my first time. And I didn't go back to watch the movie because I wanted this discussion to actually, for you to get my first reaction, because if I would have watched it a second time, it would have taken away from what I got to talk to you about. What is Emily's connection to the hotel?
The character of Emily is what really makes this film very, very interesting, and it really stands out. She is very enigmatic. I mean, the film starts in the 1920s with this lynch mob, awesome black and white atmosphere. It feels like a Hammer film, bro. It's such a great visual, and it really sets the tone to this film, and you see this character of Emily within this scene reading the book. So flash forward to present time in Louisiana when Liza inherits the hotel. Somehow Emily is tied to this hotel because the guy that's cleaning her windows sees her face in the window, knocks him back, kills him. I mean, he died eventually.
Yeah.
Because he saw the white eyes, the white.
So that was her from the beginning.
Yep.
That's what I had thought, but I'm like, she still looks the same. And I again, I didn't rewatch it because I'm like, I'd rather have a conversation about this. So, all right, makes a little sense why she knew so much.
And that is why later on in the film, when John goes to Emily's house to investigate, because Liza mentioned a blind woman, and this guy, he knows the entire town in and out. He's a doctor, so he knows all this stuff. And he said, I don't know no blind woman that lives in that house. He goes there, finds nothing but dust, cobwebs. He finds the book, which we will get into a little later. And then a few scenes after that, we see Emily inside her house again, and it's not dusty. It looks lived in. So her character is, again, I will get into this a bit later on my theory about the overall aspect of the film. The fact that this character goes on to get murdered later on as well, it also feeds into this theory that I got cooking. I think this character got touched by the book, and again, we'll get into the white eyes a bit later on. She is the force within this movie. Excellent shot of Liza driving on that long highway.
Yeah.
And you see Emily with her eye-seeing dog just waiting there on the road. And she asks her, are you Liza? I've been looking for you. By the way, she's blind. I don't know how she's looking for anybody. But it sets the stage. I like that. And I think her character is beyond supernatural. I think she's tied to the hotel for a reason. Everyone from the opening scene, she mentioned that they're all gone. You saw what happened to the artist. He was murdered. He's the zombie that's that's causing all the ruckus within this film. You could really dive into these films and pick them apart and find things that may make sense or may not make sense. It doesn't matter because it's a Lucio Fulci film, and that's how he rolls, son. That's how he rolls.
That's true. She gets killed, but she's a ghost. So I was a little confused. As you come to find out, the hotel is one of the gates of hell. Did she go into hell and leave? She probably did die, escaped through the door to get back, into the hotel since it's one of the gates. I liked her character. I wish that maybe we could have gotten just a little tiny bit more to kind of close in some of these plot holes. in the character. But yeah, I mean, she was an essential part of the whole entire storyline.
Yes, she has witnessed the evil that lurks within that hotel because, like you said, it's built upon one of the 7 gates of hell.
Yeah.
And the fact that she did survive the opening sequence and she hasn't aged a bit.
Did she survive or did she escape because she went to hell?
She gazed upon hell itself. I wouldn't call them plot holes because if you're a Lucio Fulci fan, his movies don't have plot holes because he's going more for scares, shocks, and I think what this movie is supposed to embody is a living nightmare. A perfect example of shit just happening without little sense was the scene in the morgue when Joe the plumber's wife goes to, I guess, this is another strange scene because this guy's dead, right? He got killed back at the hotel. He's Joe the plumber. He got fucked up. This guy slapped onto a table, already had an autopsy done on him, dude. Now they're gonna look at the body, and then she dresses him up like he's gonna go straight to the funeral. But mind you, not much time has passed. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know.
It's like what, the next day or something. It makes no sense. But again, Joe the plumber's wife looks at the wall, push into her face, cuts to her daughter. She walks in, and all of a sudden she's on the floor with acid spilling all over her fucking face. What happened? Again, it's not supposed to make sense because I think this. And again, if you look at the entire movie from this scene to the spiders, everything happens and then it quickly moves on and they forget about it. I think this movie's not supposed to make sense. They built a property over one of the gates of hell. There's 1 out of 7. This is one of them. And that's it. So it's supposed to be the embodiment of a living nightmare. That's why scenes go from scene to scene with many plot holes. Mind you, we'll get into this a little bit later. I don't want to take up all the time, but that's pretty much all I had to say about that scene.
Since you brought up spiders, this movie had a lot of gory and pretty fucked up deaths. I usually try to forewarn you on shit if I see it because I know how you feel about things. But the minute the tarantulas showed up, I was like, nah. And then more showed up. I then was subjected to a scene that was really traumatic and I was so mad at you. Even if you told me there were spiders in here, I was not prepared at all.
Oh, I forgot.
To watch these tarantulas eat away at this guy's face, pull it apart, pull on his tongue. I laid there basically holding myself. Like, it was the worst spider death scene I've ever seen in my life. What they had was a dental mold that was put over his face. And as the spiders are pulling on his face, thankfully, those were not real spiders. I did read up that. But they did use real spiders. So some of the spiders on him were real. And oh my God, it was just, I'm sitting there like, this is like so terrible. What a horrible way to fucking die. Fucking kudos, you know, with some of the stuff we've seen, there's some really good kills in here. I think for right now, this is my number 1.
Now, speaking of stuff that doesn't make sense, spiders sting and they venomize you. They don't eat you like that, bro.
No. I was hoping they were just gonna spin a web on him.
And the best part about it was they used extreme close-ups. You had mentioned that they had used a dental mold for the actor for these fake spiders to munch on. But the fact that they did these extreme close-ups, you can't tell it's a mold. It looks like the spiders are ripping out his tongue. They're ripping out like his flesh from his fucking face, like his eyeball and shit. Great scene, and it lasted forever. Let's talk about it. The anatomy of a scene, man. The classic horror Italian trope. The long, lingering shots of people just dying in excruciating ways, bro.
Acid on the mother. Like,
yeah,
she just
it took forever.
there. And I mean,
took forever.
And she's gurgling through it. That's another part. That bitch did not get up. I'm sorry. If my face would have started burning with some acid, I probably would have tried to roll out from the flow of acid landing on my face. But, you know, the movie is doing what it's supposed to do. It's just supposed to be this gore-tastic.
The film's a gore story, bro.
Oh, yeah.
From Joe the plumber getting his eyes gouged out. Of course, classic Fulci. Loves poking out eyes. There's another scene here. Again,
obsession with the eyes.
Again, going back to what we talked about before briefly, though, the characters of Martha and Arthur, who were pretty much the caretakers that came with this hotel. Another aspect of this film is the doc. Once again, he said he don't know no Martha or no Arthur. He doesn't know anyone that worked at that hotel or that came with the hotel. So again, I'm thinking, oh, they're part of this. But then they get fucking killed too. It's like, all right, so what was that all about? Why introduce that little nugget if you're not going to follow up on it? Again, I think it's all done by design. I don't think Lucio Fulci gave a fuck about a narrative or plot holes.
Not at all with
he was
this
like,
one.
this is a living nightmare. This is what this is. And I'm gonna sign up for that theory. I think it's an excellent theory because if you look at this film, a lot of shit don't make sense. But like I said before, it's a gore store, bro. Our character of Emily, which is interesting because you had mentioned what's Emily's purpose in this, and now her death is interesting because her own dog got possessed and wiped her out. Ripped her throat out, and then it ripped her ear out. What's interesting is she was already blind, so the metaphor for this is see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil.
Speak no evil.
Hell itself is punishing her for trying to speak to Liza and warn her not to do what she's doing. And of course, Liza, what an amazing character she is. She ignores her and has everybody just, frolicking around the hotel and, getting
Dying,
killed.
left and right.
How cool was Joe the Plumber, bro? This name was Joe the Plumber.
Yeah, I'm like, well,
Joe's
first of all,
plumbing.
and I'm like, God, I guess it's because it's the 80s. I'm like, that's a whole lot of water under a house.
Mind you, and she said there was no running water through the faucets. Yeah, they had all that water in the
Yeah, like where's all this coming from? Huge obsession with the eyeballs.
That's a Fulci trope.
I want to say, literally, would we get at least 3 of them?
We did so many. Yeah, we did already between this and Brains.
No,
and
I mean,
we did a lot of. No, I know what you mean. I know what you're saying, but I'm just trying to tie everything back. Everything we've covered so far had eyeballs getting popped out or ripped out somehow. Zombie 1, 2, 3. You didn't see 4 yet, but this one. There's still 2 other Lucio Fulci films we gotta cover. So who knows?
I guess
Man.
we're gonna find out if he's.
I have seen those, but I don't remember if they got any eyeball. One has the most disgusting, one of the most disgusting scenes I've ever seen in my life, or which that'll be in season 2.
Yeah, with Martha, as soon as you got the shot of the nail, you're like, she gonna get impaled on that shit.
Let's rewind this back a little bit though, where she goes into this room 36. It looks dusty and grungy as fuck. She got this little mop and bucket. What the fuck is that gonna do? She goes to the bathtub and pulls all that hair and gunk out. The water lords. And who's in the fucking tub? It's Joe the Plumber. Like, isn't Joe the Plumber at the fucking morgue slabbed up?
No, that was.
No, that was Joe the Plumber.
No, it's the guy that got crucified.
No, the guy that was in that tub was Joe the Plumber. The guy that got crucified was still at the morgue. He showed up at the end.
Oh, all right. Watching a fucking movie with spiders and eyeballs, and like,
and it's just not that, brother. It's not just that. It's the fact that that eyeball's popping out, and this motherfucker makes you wait. He knows that you're clutching your pearls, man. Like, oh my god, just pop out already, pop out. Just die, please. The music and the sound cues go perfectly. Like, if you listen to Joe the Plumber when he dies, just the way that shit sounds and the way it transitions to the next scene with him screaming. The one thing I will say about this movie, this feels like a horror movie. Even from the very beginning, like I mentioned, it resembled a Hammer film to me because of the way it was shot. I love the black and white, the color palette that was used for that. It made it feel like an old Hammer film. That set the stage. The music, and then accompany that with the gore that was in it, and the way the sound cues. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a lot of John Carpenter type sound cues.
Oh yeah. No, I picked up on that. Trust me. You mentioned Emily's scene on the bridge. Very Alfred Hitchcock. I didn't think Italian influence on that one. That was straight up Hitchcock scene for me, because you knew something was coming, but you had the length of it and then the closeness of it. It was one of my favorite shots.
Great shot.
In
Great
the movie.
Shot.
The ending, while I feel a little. I think I got it. I want to hear what you took from the ending. So what do you think happened to Liza and John at the end?
Again, this goes back to what I was saying. I think this film is structured as a nightmare scenario. It's a living nightmare because things don't make sense. Characters that are supposedly dead. I mean, come on. Emily was in the opening shot of this film, which is the 1920s. And yet, she's one of the protagonists in the present time. So they're like, okay, what's going on? And she got killed, physically killed. So,
Yeah.
all right, what's going on? So, by the way, man, we forgot to mention this one. The shot of the doc blasting that young girl through the fucking grill piece with
I
that
know.
fucking
I felt it went kind of zombie at the end.
Well, because that's, you know why. Fulci came up with this. Well, I don't want to say he came up with this film. I'm not going to get into all that right now. I'll be here forever talking about the origin of this film. But to, give you the long story short, he was not happy with Zombie being portrayed as Zombie 2 because it was supposed to try and trick people into thinking it's the sequel to Dawn of the Dead, because Dawn of the Dead in Italy is called Zombie. Zombie was not the original title. They made him do Zombie 2 to capitalize on Dawn of the Dead. So he was really mad. He already did The Gates of Hell, The City of the Living Dead. That's the prior film. This is the middle film in a trilogy that's loosely connected. So it's you can watch them out of order. So when it came time to put The Beyond into production, one of his main things was he wants to only keep one zombie, and that was the painter in the beginning, Schweik. What's his name?
Schweik.
That guy was supposed to be the only zombie, but because the popularity of Zombie, the financiers told him, listen, man, we want a lot of zombies in this film. So Fulci was like, guys, I just did that. So he said, okay, here's a compromise. If you give us the zombies, you could have total creative freedom with this film. Just, we need zombies. So that's why in the final scene, in the morgue, in the hospital, that's why all those zombies, straight out of Zombie, by the way, the same exact zombies, same sound effects and everything, same makeup.
That's what I'm saying.
Same
I'm
makeup.
watching it. I'm like sitting here, like
Yeah.
I'm a little confused. Like this went feeling like it was a supernatural dealing with the gates of hell, to now we have John and Liza fighting off a horde of zombies.
By the way, John, the worst fucking shot. This moron realized, okay, if I shoot him in the head, they die. But this fucking genius kept shooting him in the fucking chest and the stomach. What are you doing?
I couldn't. I will say.
And then even
Probably
the Schweik zombie, he kept shooting all over the place. Motherfucker, shoot him in the head. You know that's what kills him at this point. You shot. He did not hesitate to shoot the young girl that grabbed Liza out of nowhere with the white eyes. He did not hesitate to blow her brains from her skull. But this fucking zombie, he kept shooting him in every single place on his
Wasted bullets.
maggot-riddled corpse, but not his head.
Based on what you said, is that okay? You want zombies? I'm doing all of this before it. I'm gonna give you your zombies at the end.
He had to set it up somehow.
And he phoned it in. He phoned in that part. Everything else, he was all in for.
They shoot the girl in the head. They escape. They're getting chased by zombies. They go into some other elevator, and all of a sudden, they're back at the hotel. And then, all of a sudden, they're in hell. They're all over the place. So I'm thinking it's impressionism in this film. They take a lot of liberties with the story structure, and I don't think it's supposed to follow no straight narrative, or it's not supposed to be linear. It's supposed to be all over the place because I think this is supposed to be a nightmare come to life. And that's just the way I see it, because that's the only way it explains anything that happens in this.
So what you're saying makes sense, because some of the deaths were a living nightmare. It was just the continuous shots to the stomach, to the shoulders.
Oh my God.
Like after the first two, you're like, bro, that part right before the final sequence loused the movie up for me.
My take on it, at the end, our two characters, finally, they're in hell. And it was pretty cool because the painting, because this artist in the beginning said he proclaimed he was the guardian of this gate. He protected it.
That's what I'm saying. That's the other part. He was protecting us.
When they killed him, yeah. And mind you, again, they fucked this dude up. A slow, agonizing. They threw some random acid on him, melted him. Yeah, he got pretty fucked up. So our heroes at the end, they're in hell, and they witness hell itself, and it blinds them. It plays a part with Emily and with the younger girl. Excellent freeze frame. Like, Typical. That's an Italian trope too. I love it. And yeah, I think that's exactly what's going on here. I think if you touch or if you witness hell in any way, or if you're touched by it, I think it blinds you.
So, because they ended up in Schweik's painting.
All the actors that they got to be naked to film that scene at the end, they're a bunch of random hobos. They paid them with alcohol to get naked and just stand there.
Shit, I mean, well, let me not say that. It's purgatory. I think it wasn't necessarily hell.
Nice, brother.
I think
Good
it was
shout.
purgatory.
Good shout.
And I think that Schweik was painting purgatory because he himself was stuck in purgatory. He's basically guarding the gate of hell from the living world, and he's in the middle of this.
This book of Eben actually appears in a lot of Lovecraft stories. So this film has Lovecraft ties, which I know you're a big Lovecraft.
I know. That's pretty cool. I didn't pick up on that one. And it ends up with our protagonist in the painting.
Nice. Yeah.
And basically how the movie ends. The bodies that were around there weren't moving. They're just people who are stuck. And when you're in purgatory, you're stuck in your moment. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up.
Did you know that John Carpenter produced the Shutter theme? I didn't know that.
Wow.
And I always said, Dan, they're ripping off Carpenter bad, but I love it. And he's the one that came up with it. And the reason why I bring that up, because when I saw this film, I love how it starts with the old.
Oh my god!
I'm like,
when that started.
Bob Morosky, this is a guy that he went on to work on the Spider-Man films. He helped with the spider sequence in the original Sam Raimi film when Peter Parker was bitten. His company, Grindhouse Releasing, remastered this film and brought it back out, and they added that excellent intro. Obviously, if you're a fan of the channel, you recognize that intro. I mean, if you're a Tarantino fan, obviously you know that intro. Yeah. I wasn't expecting it because when I originally saw this film, it wasn't this version. It didn't have that intro.
When Fulci released it, it was actually deemed video nasty.
Video nasty.
It's a video nasty. He had to edit it some down, and Grindhouse Releasings were the ones that ended up releasing the movie in the United States. It was awesome, and it was fitting, and I guess, you know, just based on the intro and something in there, I'm telling you right now, you're gonna see this again. Wait for it.
I fucking love this movie. This is an instant buy. I'm gonna look for the 4K. It has to be on 4K, man. I love the music. The soundtrack to this movie is excellent because it incorporates this live band. The music feels alive, and it takes a lot of liberties because you're going from like all types of genres here. We got like this Western sound to it. Some parts sound disco. There's some jazz in there, but then you got that horror Carpenter soundscape. I'll be honest, from all the ones we've done so far too, I think I enjoy this movie the most, man. This feels like a legit horror film. It feels like a haunted attraction. There's one scene when the doctor and Liza leave the hotel, then you see like the silhouettes of the zombies just creeping up through the windows, just shambling around. The way it was shot, and again the sound cues and the transitions. You mentioned the scene when Room 36 where the painter is doing his thing and the mob's coming in, and you get that close-up of his face, and in the background you see the door with 36. It loses focus on him and it focuses on the door. Multiple shots later, it transitions back to that same shot, but it goes from the 36 focus, then it goes out of focus and focuses back on our main antagonist for that opening. Very clever the way it went back to that same shot. Again, that word bookended. My man wasting all those bullets for no fucking reason.
That's the worst part. The worst, honestly.
That was
stupid. It's stupid.
That was stupid. It took me up. That took me up.
But as a horror fan, and somebody who quickly figured out shoot him in the head, to then just forget it on the next person he's shooting, it kind of made no sense.
We forgot about the guy that got killed by the glass shards out of nowhere. Like, what? All of a sudden the door breaks and all the glass from the door just impales the guy, and then the doctor's like, whatever.
Funny enough, I didn't hate the music myself either, and here's why. It didn't feel very Goblin. One of the critiques of the music was that it was Goblin in training. Didn't sound like Goblin. I actually found it a blessing. At the same time, it wasn't Goblin. I don't feel it was trying to be Goblin at all. I actually liked the music. So to actually try to be shady and call it Goblin in training when it wasn't at all, I'm not going to agree with whoever said that. It was obviously a puppet dog that they used to kill
Yeah,
Emily.
yeah.
Did you know what Fulci named his puppet dog? It was Pupula.
Hoopla.
That was Pupula. Pupula is the name of the animatronic or the puppet dog that they made that ended up killing Emily. Like,
George Romero named the crate monster Fluffy. So.
I love that. So when they went blind, those contacts were made out of glass.
I wasn't a fan of the way they looked up close because you can tell they were contacts. There were too much texture in them. But now that you mentioned they're glass,
So they
that
were
makes
glass,
sense. See no evil.
and you couldn't see with those contacts.
Let's go home.
That was literally the worst fucking spider
In
death
case
I've
you don't
ever
know,
seen.
Joe is afraid of frogs and spiders.
All right, so make sure to join us next time. It's another Rick pick, but neither one of us have seen this.
We're going in fresh.
Planet of the Vampire.
Mario Bava, baby. Finally.
Oh, we got a
I've
Baba?
been waiting for Bava, brother.
I've
We
been
got
waiting
it.
for Baba myself too. So until next time, make sure to support Italian horror.